Why, hello there, friends. Thanks for clicking on this video and joining in on a continuing conversation that revolves around homemade do-it-yourself black powder for muzzle loading rifles and revolvers. I've been wanting to spend some time doing this because I've been making, homemade gunpowder for about 2.5, 3 years now. I didn't start recording and put anything on this channel till about almost 2 years ago. And like a lot of you, when I first started making homemade black powder, I was using the screening method, which would involve, taking the 3 components, milling it, wetting it down, and either pucking it by hand and or putting it in a cheesecloth and wringing it really tight. And that's how I made quite a bit of my gunpowder in the beginning. And then eventually I switched over to pucking it with a 12-ton jack to create what everybody is talking about, a much more denser, faster, cleaner shooting gunpowder. And one of my subscribers, William, asked me about the water that I use, and I've heard a lot of other people mention distilled water, and that's why in the previous videos I did the 3 burns with the waters just to see what was left behind. Now bear in mind that there's a huge difference between an open air burn and a burn that is in a confined space such as the bottom of your gun barrel or in your revolver cylinders. And over the years I've shown how clean burning my gunpowder is with the juniper, and that's even using with pucking it with my groundwater. And as you can see, and as I've shown, there's a lot of minerals left behind in my groundwater. And when I first started learning how to do this, a lot of people that I was watching at the time suggested using a 50-50 mixture of alcohol, water, and then in time I just went to pure alcohol. And when I started pucking with my bottle jack, that's when I got away from the alcohol completely and just started using water. Well, I have one more test that I want to do, and then I'm going to probably give this subject a complete rest. I got another batch of gunpowder milled, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to puck that with alcohol, and I'm using 91% the alcohol. Okay, I've got the pucks already pucked, and what I did this time is, recognizing that alcohol does evaporate, I made sure that there was always enough moisture in the pile of powder that I was, going to puck. But before I screen this, before I mill it up, grind it up, and screen it, I wanted to do an open air burn with just the powder by itself as it came out of the mill, and you'll see that right now. So as you can see, I have a healthy amount of the powder on that clean piece of metal. So I'm going to burn it, and we'll look and see if there's anything initially left behind. Well, there's the piece after the burn. Judge for yourselves, guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to observe. But you can see that there's, some larger spots. It's just not all fine powder. But that's what it looks like. I'm going to keep this as it is until I get the rest of the powder pucked with the alcohol, screened, and then we'll do a burn of that, and then we'll hold these pieces side by side. So let me give you my initial observation regarding pucking with alcohol, just straight alcohol. I will tell you, my first observation is right now they appear to be a little lighter in color than pucking with water. Now, I did try to maintain, to the best of my ability, a consistency in moisture. Recognizing that alcohol does evaporate quicker, I wanted to make sure that as I'm pucking these, I tried to maintain a moisture level, and I think I did achieve that. I will tell you also right off the bat, my first impression is that with the water, pucking with water, I could take them and drop them like this, and they did sound a little more dense, but I won't know that for a fact because that was part of the prevailing thought years ago from some of the people making homemade gunpowders, to getting away from the alcohol because the water does condense it a little bit better. But time will decide that for me. So I'm going to get these out into the sun, let them dry, and then just go through the normal routine of breaking them up, putting them in my mill, and then sizing it. And when I get that done, I'll do another burn, and we'll see by comparison if the alcohol will leave anything behind like the water. Right now I'm saying no, it's not, because alcohol does completely evaporate away. So stay tuned for that. Well, how did we do? Been a day and then a little bit. I gotta tell you, I'm disappointed, and this is probably the reason why I got away from using alcohol in the past. Okay, I can tell you right now that just listening, they're just not as solid as when you compress these with water. And it would make sense just simply because water is more dense than alcohol is, which in my opinion would create a much denser gunpowder. And that's what everybody was saying years ago when I was first, swapping over from alcohol to water. But I don't know how well, let me see if I can't focus the camera down, and I'll show you how easily these things break up. Pretty easy, isn't it? Let's see if I can find a thicker one here. Here's a thicker one. As you can see, they're just not solid. So obviously I'm going to break all this up, put them back in the ball mill, and pulverize them. But I do want to show you friends something else at this time. Okay, what I have here, and this is what helped me decide completely to get away from screening my gunpowder. Okay, what I have here is a clear plastic tube and a ramrod and a round ball. I'm going to put some of gunpowder that I made, pucked and ground down to 3F with the juniper, and I want to demonstrate something. So let me get some gunpowder in here and I'll show it to you. Alright, so here's 40 grains of my gunpowder 3F. I'm going to drop a ball on top of it, and I'm going to compact it as hard as I can. I don't know how well the camera's going to be able to pick it up, but and hopefully you can see, the powder is not crushed like one would think. the granules. Well, here, let me take it out and then put it on a piece of paper plate, and then you can see just for yourselves how this did not crush. Okay, so there's the powder as it come out of the tube. There's the tube in a round ball. And hopefully your friends can see that it's still solid. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the powder over here that I pucked just using the alcohol. And let's do a comparison. And again, I'll use 40 grains. Alrighty, there's the 40 grains of the gunpowder that was made with just the alcohol. And drop the round ball, and I'm going to push on it as hard as I can, and we'll see if there's any difference. Now, I know the camera can't pick it up through the tube because it's pretty cloudy, but I'll do the same thing. Put it on the paper plate and I'll give you a close-up of it. So there's the 40 grains, and as you can see, I'm hoping, there's an awful lot of powder in there. So obviously this is the reason why I got away from using alcohol, because at this point, if you're gonna do this, you might as well just shoot 4F. So I'm gonna break up some more so I can get enough 3F to go do a burn test, because I still want to see what's left behind after a burn. So I'm going to get that accomplished, and you can join me here in just a moment. So here's 50 grains of that gunpowder pucked with alcohol, 91%. So I had to pull everything into the shop here. It's really getting windy out there, but how did it fare? Well, I'll let you be the judge. There's the piece. Move it around in the sun, and I'll get the bench cleaned off here in a moment, and we'll put the two test pieces side by side. I would say, guys, looking at this, it's pretty damn clean. But here again, it's a trade-off, isn't it? Would you rather have gunpowder that burns that clean all the time because you're using alcohol to compact it? Well, obviously I'm going to have, if you're going to choose to do that, you're going to have to do a lot more work in getting all that gunpowder down to like a 3F, because there's so much powder in there. It's, you know, in my perspective, it's unbelievable, and that's one of the reasons why, just to reiterate, I got away from using alcohol in, you know, making my gunpowder. And the other thing is it's clean burning as that is, you can see how brittle it is. So what's it going to do when it's swinging around in your powder horn or your powder flask or anything like that? So you're going to have to decide for yourself where the trade-off truly is. But for my money, I think I'd rather still stick with the solid gunpowder as opposed to this crumbling away, say perhaps in your powder horn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the bench cleared off, and I'll do a side-by-side shot of both of these pieces of metal. So there's the piece that I did the test burn on with just the powder as it came out of the ball mill. And as you can see, there's a lot of smoke residue left behind. Now there's the other piece that I just did, and you can see there's very little smoke residue left behind. Guys, judge for yourselves. I do know that if a guy was to continue to burn this gunpowder that's pucked with alcohol and it collapses in the bottom of your barrel, you're going to end up getting more pressure, because in essence you're really burning a 4F in conjunction with a 3F. At least that's where my mind is on this. Well, thank you, friends, for joining along in this little jaunt. I've certainly hoped that you've been able to glean something with what I've been able to demonstrate here. Is it really better to puck with water or alcohol? Well, ultimately, that choice is yours. I know where my mind is. It's still going to be with the water. And, you know, having done what I just demonstrated reminds me of, you know, a few years ago why I quit using alcohol, because I had experienced the same type of thing. I just wasn't getting any satisfactory results with the size 3, the 3F staying together inside my horn. So anyhow, I hope to catch you guys here real soon with some shooting videos. I hope that you'll take a moment to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing. And please share this with your bestest of buds. Bye for now.